Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, founder of GST Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI agent tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. So today I have an incredible guest, incredible team today here, guests. So we're going to be talking about the rise of self-improving AI companies and how autonomous AI companies will build, ship, and learn, sell, and scale faster than humans can organize. So, as I said, I'd like to welcome each of you here to GST Presents Top Global Startups. The conversation today is not just about artificial intelligence, it's about the future architecture of companies themselves. For more than a century, businesses have scaled through people, process, capital, and organizational hierarchy. But what happens when startups become adaptive systems? What happens when the company itself begins to learn? We are entering an era where AI is no longer simply a tool used by a startup. AI is becoming the startup itself. Imagine organizations that continuously rewrite their own code, optimize pricing in real time, generate and deploy product features autonomously, identify customer pain points before support tickets exist, and launch go to market campaigns without waiting for the human approval cycles. The traditional startup model was built around human latency, meetings, departments, decision bottlenecks, funding cycles, engineering sprints. But self improving AI startups could have compressed those timelines from months into minutes. In many ways, we may be witnessing the emergence of a new digital species of company. Businesses that evolve continuously through feedback loops between users, agents, data infrastructure, and autonomous reasoning systems. Today, we are joined by two people operating directly on the frontier of that transformation. Miles Maggio is one of the leading voices in AI agent engineering, with deep experience architecting autonomous systems and scaling AI platforms. After a successful startup exit, he is now helping build the AI agent infrastructure powering Prest0. Justin, on the other hand, combines technical innovation with growth execution. A first place winner at the CIA National Security Hackathon, Justin has built viral products with breakthrough traction and now drives growth and market expansion at Prest0. Together, we will explore one of the biggest questions in technology. What happens when startups can improve themselves faster than humans can manage them? And perhaps even more importantly, what happens to every company that cannot? So, with that, I'd like to welcome them to the show. Hello, guys. How are you today?
Hey, doing
Good,
good.
Gary. Thanks.
Yeah, no. Oh, I see the co-founder things change. It was magic, huh? Uh, for centuries, companies evolved through human organizational intelligence. So if we look at the evolution of the startup itself, guys, are we now approaching the moment when companies evolve through machine cognition instead?
Definitely. We're using our agents not only for our customers, but for our company as well. And we have a ton of agents that are doing the work that we would normally be having humans do.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Gary. And yeah, this is not just profound in startup land, but this tech shift is profound in society. This is quite literally changing everything, and there's so much to go over. But basically, the jury's not out on this. This is very clear that startups that don't adopt this new model are gonna get too far behind, and will just simply die for sure.
If software once ate the world, as we say, do autonomous agents now eat software itself? Miles?
The so AI agents, digital AI employees are going to eat the universe. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but without the speed and accuracy of models today, and growingly so in the future, compounded, then we're every business model is going to die, and the second and third order effects of that are massive and not well understood yet.
All right, why don't I do this? I'll give Justin a question, then you, Miles. We'll go back and forth. At what point does an AI startup, Justin, stop being a company using AI and become a living adaptive system?
Well, when you have enough agents that they're going to actually be doing all the tasks that people would normally do, and you have them like scraping the internet constantly, looking for new information that's going to affect your startup, and then allowing the agent to pivot your other agents, you're going to end up with a system that is correcting in real time, so that you end up, being much, further ahead than any other startup can be, just because of the speed of the system.
So, Miles, do you believe future unicorns will be defined less by workforce size and more by the quality of the recursive feedback loops?
Oh, 100%. It'll be much less of the old traditional, like, oh, my company has 1,000 employees as a kind of measuring stick, and much more by EBITDA and cohort retention, net profit. This is an entirely new era where individuals are going to be managing systems and swarms of agents. One individual is going to be managing swarms of agents that are learning, and not just one agent at a time, or one agent doing a couple tasks at a time. I mean, this is and in what the true definition of what I call and what we call a self-development AI startup is one that tips into the realm of the AI agentic system actually proactively improving, suggesting and improving upon itself. That means we are no longer putting in a prompt, make more money. It actively creates objectives, and allocates resources, and manages bottlenecks dynamically according to how the world evolves. And that's the major tipping point. And those are the only types of startups that are going to live in the future.
Okay, so Justin, could the modern startup become analogous to a biological organism, sensing, adapting, healing, optimizing, evolving continuously?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's what we're seeing right now. These advances in AI that we're seeing in the last few months are, not trivial. This is, we're on the verge of, the singularity, on the verge of, really having AI that's as powerful as a human, more powerful for sure. And we're seeing it in real time. This is the moment. This is our, this is our next move, basically.
So, what do you think, Miles? The short answer for what exactly defines a self improving startup from a systems architecture perspective?
Yeah. So, simply put, a self-developing AI startup no longer is bottlenecked at the founder. And what that means is that the agentic system is able to both record and ingest massive amounts of information in order to come up with strategic directions that the founders themselves, even if there's 4 founders or the best founders in the world, could not come up with otherwise, and to properly allocate resources. This is the tipping point we're at in the near future. Something I would argue we could build today with the right amount of capital and the right amount of focus. And one we are currently building at Prest0.
So, Justin, how do AI agents transition from being assistants into autonomous operators capable of driving company level outcomes?
Well, you said, how do agents transition?
Yeah.
Well, with dynamic memory, with a memory layer that's able to act as if a human is in control of it, and be able to scale in a way that not many other companies have had the ability to do. My co-founder Miles is incredibly talented in this area. in the sense that he's been developing AI agents since OpenAI released their first API, several years ago. And I've seen him with a fully functioning agent, at my hackerspace, several years ago, that was running a whole company for him. We're patenting a memory system that's able to, scale, on the levels that, we need to see this.
So, Miles, what are the key ingredients required for recursive self-improvement inside an AI native company?
Yep, good. Yeah, and Justin hit on it. It turns out, with my experience doing this for a long time, asked to speak to large organizations, asked for Fortune 50 companies, and working on this day and night for years. The simple answer is agentic memory at scale. It was information retrieval, but paired with memory at scale is actually extremely difficult to get to the cost efficiency, latency, and accuracy that these type of systems require. And the breakthrough that caused us with the rapid growth that we've seen in our startup recently has unlocked just that for the first time. And like Justin said, we're in the process of patenting that, and that unlocks a world of opportunity in this space.
Was it compounding semantic tree search?
Yeah, so I had to coin a new term, but it's compound semantic tree search with dynamic optimization, for those that want to geek out with me on this.
So do you believe, Justin, that companies eventually will build internal AI nervous systems where product sales, support, engineering, and growth are all interconnected through autonomous reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, most the companies that survive are going to be using a network of agents, swarms of agents that are doing, all the different tasks that we would normally have teams of people doing. So, they will operate, in conjunction with each other, creating, a full system that's kind of aware of it, not only itself, but all of the other sub agents that it's controlling, and all of the other, agent nodes that it's, that it's working with.
So historically, scale created bureaucracy, Miles, but AI potentially reverses that equation. Does intelligence at machine speed fundamentally alter the economics of organizational growth?
Did you say the economics of organizational growth?
Yeah, does it fundamentally alter the economics of organizational growth?
Absolutely, that and you said this is good. So you said scale before.
Scale created bureaucracy, but AI potentially reverses that equation, right?
Exactly. Actually, I love Helmer's book on this that came out in 2016. Called The Seven Powers. If you've read it, have you read it, Gary, or have you heard of it?
No, but I read a lot about this stuff. So
it's amazing. It's an amazing book in 2016. Although, relatively recent in business history, goes over the seven major modes. And one of them that you touched on was economics, scale, economies of scale. Having a strategic advantage of economies of scale in workforce, but one of also is production learning, and embedding talent is some of the two other ones. And these seven are actually changing dramatically in the new era. Just briefly, one of which network effects are going to continue to be a huge strategic advantage going forward. But one that's getting diminished right now is embedded talent, where an agentic swarm, like Preston and those of the future, will be able to remember and become, leading thought leaders and talent embedded within the agentic system that moves the organization forward, learns and continuously learns, and pioneers even in go-to-market strategies, business models, etc. And the sheer best talent. We must have the best talent in order to win model is still relevant today. For example, in the AI large language model labs, but is decreasingly a strategic advantage as long as your agentic swarms learn. And then another one is, economies of scale still work, which is one you trusted on. But these 7 power dynamics that run the world and create the largest enterprises in the world are dramatically changing. So it's important to look at each 7 of those and go down one by one. What's more important in the new AI era? What's relevant today, and what's going to be less relevant in the future?
That's great. Justin, could the future dominant companies be those with the shortest learning loops rather than the largest balance sheets?
I mean, definitely. You're going to end up with companies that are going to have, all these agents that are operating with them, and the operational cost of these agents in comparison to having, teams of humans doing this is, exponential. You're going to, reduce the cost incredibly, efficiently, and you're going to end up with, really powerful AI systems and the most powerful agents, that you can come up with. You're gonna, what we're doing is we're pitting these agents against each other in competition to find the best agents that we can create, with various different models operating them, so we can see, how these how they learn and how they operate, so that we're making sure that we're using the right ones to push our company faster, without tons of humans in the loop. And the majority of the cost of these startups is, hiring people.
Miles, in biology, evolutionary advantage often belongs to the fastest adapters, not necessarily the strongest organisms. Does the same principle now apply to startups?
Absolutely. So you find in human evolution and like in our history, the reason why we were so successful as a human species was because of the famous term I love to talk about, which is called the innermost loop. And when the innermost loop is the most efficient, as you kind of alluded to, Gary, and then spins and quickly adapts and learns. Namely, humans are able to pass on wisdom, as a society and now institutionally, and we're able to learn from the lessons of our history, unlike any other species. Now agents are able to do this on an hourly basis, making the innermost loop of learning incredibly fast. But another abstraction layer that actually is not well thought about too much yet, that I've never heard anybody talk about, is what we're doing in Prest0. Namely, the vision is not just institutional, generational, linear, but there's a new dimension of learning, of agents managing agents. And so you have agents managing agents, learning how to manage agents. But you can imagine that we've just tapped the potential of this, where agents, you can have a series of agents then get really good at managing other agents. And the abstraction layer, there's no end to this. Agents that learn how to learn are incredibly powerful. And that gets more into the inner loop of what we're discussing. How do the agents think about large data sets? How do they optimize themselves? Is there a new way to fundamentally think about, a business model that no one has even come close to even understanding? These are kind of the frontier things in business models that are untapped and not even thought about yet, that are now finally possible. With agentic swarms that we're going after.
Well, so then, Justin, do you think AI systems should be allowed to launch features automatically if the probability of success exceeds a certain threshold?
Yeah, we already do that. Or they're doing tasks that we'll put them on something. We'll give them an objective, and if part of that objective is to create a new feature and have it running, before it completes the task, it'll do that. And we give it certain parameters like, you need to test this, you need to open it up on a browser, you need to look at this, make sure that it's working, click around, make sure that everything's functioning right, and the better that you can prompt your agent, the more accurately it will be able to complete the task. And you end up seeing them, yeah, it uses quite a bit of tokens to do this, but it'll go through and it'll verify that it's working, and then it'll launch the feature.
Wanted to add on to this too, good Justin. Google, Facebook, Meta, these large unicorn companies, how were they created? They were the evolution of hundreds of thousands of startups going after a variety of different things. Now, today, one organization can go after hundreds of thousands or millions of ideas in a testing phase, and be able to see those few breakout products and improve on those, and then double down on those breakout products in one organization. This is so it's natural selection, inverted, where the actual the one that's failing, the startup that's failing the most in product is actually going to have the most insights and wisdom to learn and grow into the future. And this is now possible and scalable with a self-developing scalable AI startup.
Here's another one for you, Miles. At what point does autonomy create existential risk inside a business?
Good. At what point does AI autonomy cause an existential risk?
Yeah.
Well, by definition, an AI.
And do we know when that's going to happen? Right.
Yeah, it is already an existential risk for every single startup that is not implementing or not attempting to develop, at least attempting and working towards developing a self-improving startup. It is now in May 2026 already an existential risk if you do not already have, you're not already working on this.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the autonomy. What point is autonomy? Letting these agents do their own thing, does that create an existential threat inside of a business where you go and they create problems?
Well, okay, by definition, it's not existential because it's internal, but
guardrails up for that too, right?
Yeah, it will absolutely ruin your company if you let it go off the rails, cause damage to individuals, ruin trust.
Like, what can it do, Miles, if you don't put the guardrails up?
It could start emailing your investors and telling them wild things, and sending out, posts on your social media and doing all sorts of stuff. But if if you're not, if you don't have good guardrails on it, and you don't have it, report back to you before, launching, a campaign out there, then yeah, you're going to have some problems. But
so, that's going to be a big part of this thing, right? Is make sure you manage it properly and not get into a situation where you can cause damage. But I bet a lot of people will have problems because they're not going to manage it. They won't know. They don't know what they don't know, right? They may not know that if you don't have that loop for approval loop, this thing could do crazy stuff, send crazy shit everywhere, right?
Yeah, we have to do the hard work, and within Prest0, we have a hard policy. Is the level of abstractions and management of agents that I described earlier. We absolutely have to fully test them for reliability first. Before we manage the managers of the managers of agents. We have to see, fully verify that the startup is moving in the right direction, and that it's following the managers. And eventually the managers of the managers we have to stay involved in. This is not like letting the wheel go.
Yeah,
right now.
As an agent, we're basically agent operators. So as an agent operator, you're going to get information given to you from the AI, but the speed at which it can execute with your information is exponential. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do 1/100th of the tasks that Preston can do, which is our agent. And but with him asking me a few questions on each task, and then just going for it. Yeah, he gets just enough feedback to know, all right, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm doing. Okay, I need to know this now. He knows what he doesn't know, and he'll come and ask us, and with just a simple, answer, it's very similar to a human, if as they're working on a task, they may have a question for you and be like, oh, just to clarify, you want it kind of like this, right? And it's the same thing with these AI agents. They're basically digital humans that we're working with at scale.
Yeah. And Gary, to answer your question, is really good. If people don't take anything else from this podcast, they need to take away two things, and that's number one. Us humans have to make sure we're highly involved in this process. This is part of the mission.
I'm afraid people are going
to make sure no one's ready. We have to make sure these agentic systems, as powerful as they are empathetic, to your point, Gary, in your words, to humans, and that is namely, building these into the system at the root, which is extremely important.
It's a big thing. I call it provenance, right? And building in empathy and compassion. So, Justin, given your national security background, what happens when autonomous startups become strategic geopolitical assets?
When they become strategic geopolitical assets, I mean, I would say that.
Seriously, if it can do all this, right?
Yeah, you have huge dangers out there. You could have an AI startup that is pushing out misinformation on social media, for specifically backing one side or another, and doing things that could be incredibly harmful. They're so good at what they do, and so fast at what they do. Especially, given the right, tool set, you could end up, swaying, elections or perception or, all sorts of things through, very powerful agents that have, access to tools that maybe, they shouldn't.
So this is another one for you. Could Justin, self-improving companies become more strategically valuable than natural resources?
I mean, that's a hard question. I mean, resources are everything. Hard resources are, for our nation are it's can't do anything without them. But could they become more valuable in this, like, fiscally? I mean, maybe not, but up there for sure.
Interesting question. Yeah, it's a great question, because imagine a highly strategic remembering system is able to very efficiently allocate those resources.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Namely by which is compute. I mean, we're kind of constrained at compute is going to be extremely important. The whole supply chain of the manufacturing of chips is unbelievably important to sustaining this.
And the resources required to run these data centers, the fuel, the oil or what have you, the power centers that are going to be able to run all this compute are. That's like one of the most important things, and we're seeing this play out in real time right now on the world stage. It's quite interesting to watch.
We have a very hard time understanding like intelligence that's superior to our own, that's doing this. But I would imagine resource allocation efficiency could increase by orders of magnitude than it really is. Making, if US has this. First, for example, having soft power of democracy and democratic values around the world and other related things Western societies have, and China does not, then the U.S. very well could win the war. A general power struggle in the world on this technology alone, if done correctly. And there's a lot of work to be done towards that, but to get there. But yeah, this could be huge.
So then the next question is, Miles, could autonomous startups reshape military logistics, intelligence, manufacturing, and cyber defense faster than governments can modernize?
Yes, I think the number one bottleneck to the technology being disseminated around the world and even in the U.S. is definitely regulation and people's mindsets. It is still a people-run world. The internet's actually a very hostile towards agents, it turns out, and that'll change. But it only is going to go at the pace that people are trusting of these systems, and regulatory bodies are able to kind of unleash and unshackle some of the old paradigms and old ways of regulating. Governments that are going to succeed the most are going to, have bills and proposals generated by these systems, and there's just no way around it.
So Miles, this one, or Justin, this one's for you. Could future AI companies invent technologies humans do not fully understand?
So that's a very interesting question, and how I see it is, AI is learning from our data, and it's no matter how advanced the AI system is, it's being trained off of human information. So the AI can really only ever become as smart as all of the smartest humans in the entire world combined. So, which will be much smarter than any one human, but it's still almost human-like intelligence. And I mean, with all of that information and all of that knowledge, it could definitely create things that humans may not have thought of, before. But it's still very much, I would say, almost limited by the data sets that it's receiving, because it's getting them from us. We are the source of truth for it.
Interesting question. I'd like to add on there. Well, and generally disagree, just for the sake of argument here. But we already see evidence of in this answer Justin gave was true about several months ago, especially before deep thinking systems were put online. But there's already an abundance of evidence of even at the model layer, these models are winning in developing in frontier science and mathematics that no one human has ever completed, and nor estimated to complete in like this century. So we're already seeing generalizations and spiky, itsy bitsy evidence, spiky forms of super intelligence in some very narrow domains. But it's another thing to say, and the jury's not out. The jury's not out on this one, but to fill the whole circle of super intelligence is a whole nother argument and yet to be determined. But definitely in the memory sense, the value that these agentic systems create and unleashed are immense, regardless of the actual underlying full circle of super intelligence fully played out.
What happens when multiple self-improving startups agents begin competing against each other autonomously?
Oh man, it's gonna be pretty awesome, actually. You're gonna see which agents are best. We're gonna see which agents have the capability to spawn enough sub agents to running against each other and battling each other. I think we're gonna see this play out in many different scenes, not just startups, but in war. We're gonna see these autonomous robots fighting each other. We're gonna see all sorts of different dynamics between these artificial intelligence creations that we have now that are incredibly powerful, and we're going to see which ones can outcompete the others, and which ones have enough resources to outcompete the others. Can have access to enough tokens and spawn enough sub agents and outthink the other.
So this question's for both of you. This is a closing question. Human civilization has always been shaped by tools that amplifies physical power, steam engines, electricity, industrial automation. Are we now creating the first systems that amplify organizational intelligence itself And if so, what does that mean for the future of humanity? This question's for both of you.
Yeah, it's a pretty insane question to think about, and very challenging. But there are going to be necessarily, by definition, some unknowns, as we haven't seen these type of organizations before. But as far as society impact goes, humans are extraordinary at creating new jobs and new ways of developing. And at least definitely into the midterm, as we move forward as societies, again, it's going to be that role of individuals managing that one individual managing swarms of agents, and that swarm of agent can have and increase that particular individual's agency and where they decide to move and how they move up and down and in the social structure, hierarchy, etc. And even unlock, kind of bring people, who are in poor families out of poverty. And that was the second point I wanted to bring up, Gary. If there's nothing else, if there's anything else, there's no other takeaways in this podcast, although there's amazing things in here. The number two thing is it's the most important to maintain agency is to build and own your own swarm of agents. Even as an individual, that will protect your own, agency, essentially, and you use it to get trade and receive goods and services and resources in the world, to then build more and more of your swarm, will help protect you and your family going forward. And our society generally is going to be better if swarms of agents are competing or in checking or in validating or proving or having agency within a society of other individuals that have their own swarms of agents.
Yeah, I think guardian angel agents.
Yeah. We each have to have our own technology that kind of works within society and kind of works on our own behalf, benefit. And the only way society is really not going to collapse on itself is if agentic systems are kind of competing or checking and cross-checking other agentic systems, and there's not one source of truth. And I actually hope for a world that, we don't take over, at least we have the ability to have a say in not taking over the world with agentic systems.
Yeah, well, and let's hope that happens. That doesn't happen, that they don't take over, and we do come up with the guardrails. So anything to add, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, as far as, job creation goes and doing all these things, I really think that these AI agents are just going to increase the productivity of, everyone. So we're going to end up with, still tons of work to do for individuals, but they themselves are going to be so productive that we'll be able to accomplish more as a society. It's going to increase the net accomplishment as opposed to decrease the amount of people doing stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. Justin and I have these agentic swarms that are working really well, and we're busier than ever. It's not replacing. There's no end to it replacing our jobs that we can think of at this point. So it's like, but yeah, it's interesting. And that should be the case for everybody. I mean, as we can leverage these, it actually turns out the best use of our time is to be highly leveraged with agentic swarms, personally or professionally.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Appreciate it. And to all of you out there, this conversation is bigger than agents. It's about whether intelligence itself is becoming infrastructure. Companies that dominate the next decade may not be simply the ones with the most funding, the biggest teams, or even the best products. They may be the organizations that learn the fastest. And in a world where learning becomes autonomous, the pace of innovation could accelerate beyond anything humanity has ever experienced. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And this is an incredible company doing extraordinary things. And to all of you out there, my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. I will be back to you again soon with another exciting edition of GST Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech, and I am your host. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.